So pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, certain COVID-19 measures as they relate to MGL 30A Section 20, the open meeting law, were extended that have been adopted during the state of emergency. This meeting of the City of Westfield Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. Specific information can be found on the City of Westfield website at www.cityofwestfield.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so by tuning into channel 15 or channel 12 or online at westfieldtv.org or online at youtube.com, Westfield Community Programming Channel. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the city's website an audio recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. First item, call to order. Okay, so Jim?
I'm here.
Carl?
Here.
Tom?
Yes.
Cliff?
Yes.
And Bob?
Yes.
Okay, so Alex is absent this evening. Item 2, open participation. Would anyone in the public like to address the commission on any item not on the agenda? Seeing none. Item 3, public hearings, 459 Russell Road, Toccoa Country Club. Continued from January 12, 2021. An applicant requests continuance until the meeting on July 13th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Do you have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Jim?
Yep.
Carl?
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Bob?
Yes.
And Cliff?
Yes.
Thank you. Item B, 81 Fowler Road. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, public hearing will be held on June 22nd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. by virtual meeting regarding a notice of intent submitted by Wally Szulewski for construction of a single-family home located at 81 Fowler Road in Westfield. So we do have a DEP number and some DEP comments. Do we have a proponent for this application?
Yes. Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates in Westfield.
Okay, welcome, Ryan. Okay.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Could my screen sharing be enabled, please? Okay, thank you. All right. So this property is located north of Fowler Road. You guys are familiar with the area. There's a large field across the street and there's a smaller meadow. This existing tree line shown here. They own a much, this is part of a much larger parcel that continues on up to the east. But anyway, there is a bordering vegetated wetland located on the property. The boundary is located here. There's an intermittent stream located within this wetland that flows southerly and crosses Fowler Road. The intermittent stream within the BVW hasn't been delineated, just not necessary in terms of buffer zones. But here is the 100-foot buffer zone shown extending from the wetlands. Like I mentioned, this is the existing edge of the field. So what the applicant is proposing to do, he'd like to build a home for himself and his wife, a smaller retirement home. The house is going to be located within this existing field. And due to groundwater and the design constraints for setbacks for new construction for a septic system, it will be a pump septic system located here. There's going to be a driveway. The proposed well is located here, which is 100 feet away from the septic system. We are staying outside the 50-foot buffer zone with an exception of an existing portion of the field here, which really won't be all that disturbed, just a little bit of site grading. But in terms of clearing of vegetation, no work will take place within the 50-foot buffer zone. So our limit of work is shown by this silt fence line shown here. and that will encompass the project site. Aside from that, it's a pretty simple layout, small project. It's less than 1/4 of an acre. We did have some comments from DEP. I can bring those up in 1 second. So we received comments from Mass DEP on June 15th for the project. Mr. Simpson's comment number 1. Share it here. Some aerial photos suggest the area southwest of the tree line is somewhat wet and tire ruts are seen, may or may not constitute BVW. Is there a cross culvert under Fowler Road between this parcel and parcel 13R-45? The commission may certainly require wetland data sheets being included in any NOI application. So I kind of have an idea of where he's referring to. If I can bring up, let's see, where are we here? So on aerial imagery, it looks like there's maybe a wet signature in this corner of the field. I did look at it. There's some sensitive fern there, but I didn't find hydric soils that would constitute it as a BVW. It's been a maintained hayfield for quite a few years, and we have submitted wetland determination data forms to the commission since his comment, which have supported such.
Ryan, when did you delineate?
I delineated the property back in December of 2020, but I was out there again this spring during the perk testing, and I took a look at everything during full vegetated conditions, and everything remains the same. Let's see. The second comment from DEP was, according to MassGIS data, this parcel already has a single family home located upon it, and this is is this a new subdivided parcel not yet recorded? So that is correct. Currently, the parcel already has a house on it. It's actually the applicant's daughter. But the intent is to A&R this property pending conservation approval. Didn't want to subdivide the lot before we got through conservation approval. But there's plenty of frontage. We've done a review. This proposed lot would meet all the dimensional zoning regulations to be a new lot. So those were the only 2 comments. I think I've hit upon all the key items. Happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Any questions from the commission?
It doesn't look like there's room for any further agricultural activity. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, there'd be no more haying of this field. It'd be totally, the buildable area of this envelope is pretty much taken up by the house and the septic system.
Ryan, does the property owner understand that the 50-foot buffer will be a no-touch zone?
Yes, yep, I've conveyed that to him.
Does your drawing, does it support like signage? Are you suggesting some kind of markings, some kind of?
I don't have any shown in here, but we're certainly more than willing to, to show that and to have that. Yep, that's something we anticipated. I'm, I guess absent-minded. I don't know why I didn't show it on the plan here.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I had a quick question, if I may.
Sure.
Ryan, where does this proposed house lie relative to the existing house? Is it to the east?
Yes, let me pull up a different aerial so you guys can get a look.
Ryan, just so you know, we didn't see an aerial you shared before, so I was hoping maybe you could show us.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, it was just the site plan.
So this is the property right here. So there's an existing house here. In the future, the concept is that a lot line would come down somewhere in the middle here that would segregate the 2 parcels. And the area Mr. Simpson was referring to you can see there's a wetland located in here. And the culvert actually discharges within this hedgerow. I took a look at this area here. You can see it's kind of wet, but this is also during the non-growing season, this aerial. I took some soil samples here. I didn't find any hydric soils, some sensitive fern, but there's also sensitive fern spread around the meadow. Mark showed or gave us an aerial of, I'm not sure if I have it with me, but of some ruts or matted grass in this area. But I can see why, there'd be cause for concern, but this past week I did soil sampling all through that area and there's definite upland soils.
Is the blue line representative of the intermittent stream you referred to?
Correct, yes.
Where will the driveway be?
Right here, right about here.
And obviously plenty of frontage, but is there enough acreage? It's hard to tell.
Yes.
I don't even,
Yep. So let's see. I think I have a table here. The minimum lot area is 60,000 square feet. So there's more than enough. We would encompass a lot of this wetland area as part of the future parcel.
okay, thanks again.
Other questions? Ryan, go ahead, Meredith.
Oh, I just was wondering if you could, Ryan, show us what trees are going to be removed, sort of the tree line.
Yep.
Sorry, on the aerial photo.
So the 50-foot will remain. So maybe if you draw an imaginary line from about here. So vegetation on this side of the stream would remain. And from this imaginary line here, heading kind of southwest would be about half of it cut to allow for the septic system and the septic tank. So if I was to draw a line, it would probably be something like here to maybe like that would be cleared, this area here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Ryan, on your site map, it looked like the house, the corner of the house was right at the 50-foot line. Is that correct?
Let's see. Yep, we're a couple feet off that 50-foot line, yes. But at that location, the house will be relatively on grade, so we're not anticipating any site grading to occur around that corner of the house.
So your silt fence is really right on the 50-foot or really close to it?
It's a couple feet beyond
Mhm.
the 50-foot inside it. But it's staying within the existing meadow in that area. So it's grass now and it will remain grass.
Okay, so they're looking to mow it?
Yes.
Other questions? Do we need a
Yeah,
site
very-
visit?
Yeah, I had a very quick question if I could,
Sure.
from Ryan. Where's the 100-foot buffer then? Is that that's the double line there?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thanks.
I was all happy with this until you mentioned mowing. Again, I asked about the 50-foot being untouched. To me, that means no lawnmowers. I haven't seen the property, so I don't know what, it's an old cornfield. Is that what you're implying?
It's a hayfield, so it's mowed several times a year now.
But in the future, it'll be maintained as a pretty lawn with fertilizer and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yep.
I'm just trying to think, commissioners, have we done this before? I mean, 50-foot is like, I've always thought it was like stay out, especially on something new, especially on a new project like this. I was thinking your signs would go right on the 50-foot marker. Do not disturb, but if you're gonna be in there, or if owner is gonna be in there with lawnmowers, clearly that will be disturbed.
I see what you're saying, Tom. I do. I guess, you know, it's a gray area of it's mowed now and what constitutes, you know, at what point is mowing more detrimental in frequency? I don't know. We tried to keep, and we have kept all clearing outside the 50 foot. So there'll be no cutting of trees within the 50 foot. It would just be, you know, this area within this wedge of 50 between the existing tree line and the 50-foot buffer that would be mowed more frequently.
Tom's point is a good one, though, in that that was formerly agricultural use, and this is changed to making it a yard.
And once it's a yard, that's when swing sets start to appear and sheds pop up. And I just think we have to be a little careful with our buffer zone.
Tom, what are you proposing, Tom, as an alternative?
I haven't seen it, Jim. So I will admit that Ryan's comment about it already being mowed is pertinent.
Right.
I don't know. I'm looking for help here. I'm not sure
I
how.
have maybe there's a compromise, like we're allowing work within the 100-foot buffer zone and clearing of trees in the 100-foot buffer zone. Maybe the 50-foot could be marked. And in perpetuity, maybe we could get some plantings. And maybe it doesn't have to be signage because this is going to be somebody's home, but trees.
Yeah, I think our greatest area of concern is this back corner of the home. You know, we really would like to be able to maintain some sort of yard just so trees don't, you know, moss on your roof and things don't encroach on your house. But we'd certainly be willing to compromise elsewhere if we can maybe think of some ideas.
I think a site visit probably is necessary so we can see, you know, how close we are to the buffer zone and what it, you know, what the effect of the mowing actually is out there.
I agree.
Did anyone hear my comment about the cutting of trees long-term? And hello?
I think you were
Yes.
muted before, Meredith.
Oh. One more question. Was RLA able to maximize the field portion of the property and sort of try to locate the work outside of, as much as possible outside of the 100-foot buffer zone?
Yes, so I'll give you the kind of the reasons or the constraints we had. So it was all revolving around the septic system. The septic has to be 10 feet from the property line. It's a mounded system, so you know we had to keep the side slope grading on our property. The well has to be 100 feet from the septic system, and the house is right up against the setback. We couldn't shift the house any more left without encroaching on the septic area. And then we also need to leave room for a reserve perk, and you know, under Title V for future septic system in case this one fails. So we couldn't push everything over to the left because then we wouldn't have room for a perk for a reserve area. You can't have a septic system within the 50-foot buffer zone, which limited us from having a reserve over here. So it had to stay over here on the upland side. So we've shifted everything down to the left as much as we can.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Ryan regarding reserve.
Yes.
Ryan, yeah, could you explain a little bit? I am looking, look at I'm looking at the primary location, and this is a raised mound, as you said. And so where would the reserve go?
It's this dashed line right here. It's just an approximate area. And then we also have to keep in mind, this has to be at least 100 feet away from the neighboring well, which it is, which is why we can't move it any more left either.
Okay. So when a reserve has to be done in a mounded system, I'm guessing that's pretty invasive construction-wise to do, because you've got to change the contour of the mounds. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you'd pretty much be, this is provision set forth, for 40, 50-year long-term down the road.
Right.
But yes, this would probably have to be, left in place, abandoned or removed, but you'd have to construct a new one at the proper grade, mounded and elevated around the new or the reserve perk area.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay, other questions?
Yeah, just one last one, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Ryan, the DEP comment about a cross culvert under Fowler Road. Number one, does one exist? And number two, why is Mark asking that?
Good question. He's probably, I can't say put words in his mouth, but maybe speculating if this area is impounded and maybe backs up, or if it does have some sort of relief. I'm not sure, but yes, there is a culvert located under Fowler Road right here.
So is that culvert active?
Yes. Yep. The stream is flowing. Both times I've been out there, it's been flowing.
So
Yeah,
where the resource area where the stream is,
Mhm.
where is that receiving its water? Is it sheet flow, or is that creating the little stream, or the intermittent? Or, I mean, can you talk more about the hydraulics of that area so we can get an understanding of where it fits in?
Sure. It's hard to see, but this house here is up on a large hill, probably 30, 40, maybe more feet above this wetland system.
Yeah.
And you can see this stream starts farther up and snakes down. So it is fed from sheet flow, and then also I think groundwater discharge from the base of this hill. This whole wetland area is pretty saturated both times I was out there. And then there's also a contributing area farther down Fowler Road, connected to other wetlands and stream systems that all flow in this direction.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, let's set up a visit, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. And Ryan, could you actually put stakes at the corners of the house
Yep, absolutely, no
post-
problem. Yep,
so we can see where they are next, how close they are to the 50?
sure. We'll have that staked out with the buffer zones and everything to make it clear.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Any other questions?
Mm-mm.
right, then.
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Will the trees be tagged that you're going to cut down so we know how many they're cutting down?
We can show you the limit of work, and everything on, the other side of that will be, anticipated to be removed.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, anyone in the audience want to make a comment about this particular project? Seeing none, entertain a motion to continue.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Tom,
Yes,
Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Carl,
Yes.
Cliff?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, item 4, public meetings. 296 Buck Pond Road. Meeting continued from June 8th. Meredith, you want to just give us a synopsis of the site visit?
Sure, yeah, we did a site visit yesterday. I can show you guys some photos. We met with the homeowner and kind of looked at the pond and where the beach will be established relative to the water's edge. It did appear like there was no BVW. I mean, it's obvious that it used to be a sandy beach, but it's become revegetated, and we didn't think it was a BVW. I can show you guys a couple photos, and I did receive a updated site plan if you want to see that first. hang on. Okay, I'm gonna show you the site plan first. And I need to get it. Let's see. Okay, so the sketch of the area. Their house is over here on this side of the pond. This is the pond. That's the title of the plan, not the location of the road. So Horse Pond's here. They're asking to put a small beach 45 feet long by 14 feet wide between an existing boathouse, and there's kind of a walkway coming down.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't sound too, yeah.
So I think this is a good representation of what's out there. And let's see, a couple, oh, sorry, were you guys, do you want to keep looking at that, Tom?
No, no, I recall it. Thank you.
Okay, yes, you were there. I think you were out there a while ago.
I
And let me
did
just-
visit this site earlier.
Yes, and let me just here share a photo or two. Okay. So this, about half of this area would be beach sand, and you can see, I mean, it was a sandy beach at some point, but I believe the property wasn't maintained for quite some time, and the homeowner is welcome to chime in, but here, let me just scroll through. So there's an existing boathouse, sandy beach. Well, it's become revegetated. And so about half of this vegetated area would be sand. I did confirm that it's going to be clean sand, not silty sand. So it shouldn't add any turbidity to the water over time. This is an existing walkway down from their house that would go to the sandy area. Again, a close-up of where they would be putting the sand. The boathouse, water's edge. This area is going to remain vegetated and maintained. So no work on the bank, just work above the mean annual high water line, and kind of renourishing the beach. I don't know if the homeowner is here and wants to say something.
He is.
Vlad, do you want to speak to the project at all?
You said anything and more than what I could say, so that's precisely what I right. That's what I want to do is place the sand exactly how you mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay, any questions from the commission?
Yeah, Vladimir, it looks like you're going to be taking out some vegetation you're going to have to scrape that green stuff off the soil. How do you plan to do that?
So there was only one spot where they actually had piled up old cinder blocks, and it looks like there was leaves and stuff that accumulated in the area. That was really the only spot that I was looking to remove the cinder blocks and remove whatever mound that was. But everything else, my thought was just to weed whack it down low and then to put the sand right over that.
That was my thought too. I didn't think anything would have to be removed because it's just renourishing the beach. I'm showing you the picture of, there's
Yeah,
some
that spot.
bittersweet and these cinder blocks that will have to get removed and taken away from the pond. But otherwise, I was thinking you wouldn't remove any soil.
Mm-hmm.
So Vladimir, is Meredith correct? You're not going to be removing any soil?
No, I have no intentions of removing any soil other than what you're seeing right there in the corner where the cinder blocks are all piled up.
Yes, yes.
That's where it just accumulated and there's a mound of it. So that's the only spot that I would level it out with the rest of the surrounding area. It's up against the retaining wall. Somebody just left debris in that area. So that's really the only spot that I'm going to level out and then put sand over that.
How much of this can you do without bringing machinery down there?
Well, I'm going to use machinery to bring the sand down there. Everything else, I'm just like I said, I'm just going to weed whack it down, and the cinder blocks, I'm going to just carry those out. So the machinery is just to get the sand down. Yep.
How thick will the sand be? How much sand will you be applying?
So I was going to get a truckload and see how far that would get me. And I think that's somewhere in the ballpark of like 6 inches.
Yeah, that should smother the vegetation, eh?
That's what I'm hoping for. Yep.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
All right,
Mhm.
thank you. Other questions?
Just one other comment. There is an existing access. I don't want to call it a drive, but
Oh, the ramp coming down.
yeah,
Yep,
the ramp
there's a
coming
gravel
down.
ramp.
So
Yeah.
he doesn't have to do any, there is already a space. I can show you a photo of where he could back a truck down and really not impact anything and just stay on the lawn area
Mhm.
and put the sand down. So there's no disturbance to access this area is what I was trying to clarify.
Right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
just one more comment with the ponds here. So nobody has a fear that like it's gonna be washing down into the water, because there's what the high water mark is what it is. It won't ever go higher than that because it overflows into the next pond, which overflows down into the stream going all the way down to Westfield River. So they're tiered, starting from
Mhm.
Hamden Ponds to Horse Pond to, just so everybody knows that you don't have to worry about that type. And Buck Pond, I don't think you have motorized vehicles on anyway. Only the canoe, so you don't have to worry about wakes or anything. It's kind of small. Just letting you know.
I think this is Horse Pond, correct?
Oh, Horse Pond.
Yes, horse pond.
Yeah,
Yep.
same
Yeah,
thing.
okay, yeah,
That's the
Oh.
third one in line. So
Okay.
so you're not going to have that those type of issues.
okay, great. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience concerning this project? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public meeting.
So
I make
moved.
Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tom,
I'll vote yes to close.
Jeb,
Yep.
okay, Carl,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
and Bob,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the recommendation. Someone?
How about I'll make a recommendation that we have a -3 determination with the following conditions. That the sand only be distributed on the approved approximately 45-foot by 14-foot beach area. That the sand will be clean and only dispersed above the mean annual high water mark of the pond. And that the commission will be notified of the start of work and completion dates.
So I need to make a clarification on that site plan. It tapers. So it goes from 25 feet, which is at the boathouse location, and then it tapers down to the 14 feet, which is at the 45 feet mark away from the boathouse. So I just wanted to clarify that it does come out further. So it's not just 14 feet. But
Okay, yeah,
yeah, as far as
we-
everything, yep. Sorry.
yeah, we can see that on the site plan. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing
So-
none, Jim,
Actually, David, so do we need
Yes.
to change? Do we need to change the motion? What Vladimir is saying is that he's not going to be in a 45 by 14 footprint. He's going to be in the footprint on the sketch he submitted. Perhaps we should reword the motion to indicate that, so that in 10 years, somebody doesn't come and say, hey, what's this sand doing here?
I would suggest just leaving out the 14 foot and just say that the 45-foot beach area.
I'm amenable to that.
It's 45 feet starting at the boathouse, going towards the other side, going away from the boathouse towards the other side of the beach area. So,
And we're gonna attach that plan anyway, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So who made the motion?
I did.
Okay, you want to amend it? So we
I am-
remove the
yes.
14?
I'm willing to amend that to be approximately 45 feet from the boathouse.
Okay, who seconded? You accept the amendment?
To me, yes. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none. Okay, Tom,
I'll vote yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, good luck, Vladimir.
I appreciate it. Kids are gonna love it. It's right in time.
Okay.
Yeah. Next,
All right,
they're gonna want a swimming pool next, man.
Well, we were hoping to avoid that with the pond. So
Yeah.
it seems like we're on track for that. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
And I guess
Right.
I'll be in touch with Meredith to tell her as far as the third part, which is this when I plan to do this.
We
Is that
we
correct?
need authorization from her first, so wait
Okay.
for a letter from her before you start anything.
Oh, okay. Will
Okay.
do. Thank you. Bye.
All right, item B, 317 Union Street. Again, meeting continued from June 8, 2021. Okay. Tony is here.
Hello.
Hello. All right. Okay. You want to go over your project a little in review?
Sure, Dave. Yeah, so there's 4 pieces in the RDA that we presented. Piece number 1 is clearing some of the underbrush that's along the Union Street frontage. So total frontage in that area along Union Street is about 1,600 total feet. We're going to affect about 280 feet of that with the clearing of the underbrush there. So that's one piece of it. The next piece is clearing a small area of brush that's about maybe 7,000 square feet in the north end of the facility. And then creating a little access path along the rear property line, sort of abutting where the proposed dispensary would be coming down the back of the property. Part number 3 is making some 36-inch wide trails throughout the west side of the property between the pond and the Powder Mill Brook. And then the fourth part is cutting invasive vines that are affecting the mature trees that are in the, along those paths, and also planting of native trees and things in some of the areas behind the pond that have been affected by beavers, all sorts of things to get a little more diverse composition back there for future generations.
Thank you. Meredith, you want to just summarize the site visit?
Yeah, so we did a site visit yesterday and looked at, let's see, 2 of the work areas, I believe. Specifically the area along Union Street. And so our assessment of that is that, it's in bordering land subject to flooding. And there is we found like a small, I think it's a BVW or a stream. There's a culvert that goes from across the street onto their property and drains into another pipe that then goes to the pond or somewhere. So there's probably about there's 2 culverts, and in between the 2 culverts, I would say there's a maybe 8 feet by 5-foot area, 10 by 5 of BVW or something between these two culverts. It's kind of a strange little area. So seeing that, that made me a little concerned about clearing all the vegetation within that zone, because it does look wet down there. Yeah.
Do you have a site now? As you're explaining this, it would be helpful to look at a sketch.
Tony, do you have that handy?
I do. Let me see if I can share it here. I'm gonna
I actually,
practice. Let's see.
I
Meredith.
have-
Oh.
yeah, I do have, there was an old delineation, because, you know, this was permitted.
You guys have access to that? Let me see. Rotate right. And
I don't have right
What's it-
here what Tony's plan, but I have an old delineation. But Tony, if you have what you sent in with the RDA.
Yeah, let me see. I got my screen share here. Let's see if it's coming up here.
But yep, we're seeing your screen. We're seeing the
Okay.
old. The
Wait, how about this?
yeah.
Hold on a second here. I double click on this. I have two screens and I gotta make sure we're on the right one. Okay, can you see that?
We could see an old plan.
So this area right here is the one in question. And on this plan at this time, it was delineated or described as a paved waterway. So I think at one time there was, you know, in between the two culverts was probably a little bit of asphalt. You could sort of feel some of that hardness poking down into this area, but there's also quite a bit of silt and things that have collected on top of it. So this is the area right here at the corner of the driveway, in between the culvert, in between the two culverts, at which point the water goes under the parking lot, presumably exiting somewhere in the pond.
Tony,
Yes.
Tony. So from that culvert, which is the entrance, we're talking to the left of the entrance. How far up did you want to clear going up? Up to like where the guardrail starts? Which is
Let me see if we can.
probably about right in front of your the go-karts, about there.
Right, so if you could see this map, it would start, this is the point where that culvert is. And we want to go down to approximately perpendicular with the pit house of the go-kart.
Right. And just so everybody knows, right about where he's talking, that's where the guardrail starts. That goes all the way, wraps around down to the corner. Right, going down. So that whole front, that top part is
Here's
exactly, it's like that, right?
So this, you know, there's the pit house there. I'm not, let's see, the guard.
Guardrail's up further. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So then along this side of the parcel, there's, well, here's the guardrail here. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where the wetlands get a little bit closer to the street. So
Now,
at the-
Tony, you want to clear this out to make it more visible, right, for your location, so people can see it and they're more apt to come in and go to your location, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. And then there's some thought too of possibly placing picnic tables and things under the trees. So there'd be a shade area where somebody could come with their dog, tie the dog up. And I think there's a lot, there's a lot of examples of this type of space where you have these, mature trees growing up through a, grassy area in a park-like setting. As I start looking around myself, I see more and more of those situations. If it's, commercial property where they've left a little strip in front of trees and then they're mowing and maintaining around them, or, a lot of the parks that we go to where they have tables and things interspersed.
And on that, just so everybody's aware, I don't know if everybody's been there, but that side of the property where he's talking about now, I don't know if you have any or very little animal or habitat because you're between the street and the parking lot of the your Mr. Whip's Golf Acres. So it's not like it's down in the trenches or, and this is the highest point of the property. I'm just pointing it out. I'm familiar with it.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's correct. In the, the notice of intent when the track was put in, that was in the late 90s, they did reference that there was very limited value to the space for habitat because of the vehicular traffic on Union Street. Some of the wildlife biologists I've had a chance to talk to, they suggest that generally the wildlife is closer to the wetlands. It would be on the other side of the wetlands between the railroad tracks. The location here between the street and the commercial parking lot is going to have limited, very limited value. And let me see if we can get it go above, above the but I'm not a wildlife expert either, so it's really, it's not my, my call to make. I mean, we're leaving the mature trees, leaving the crown of the trees, removing a lot of invasives.
Okay, other questions from the commission?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one of the neighbors last week brought up an issue on, I think how the original order was done or agreement was done that a vegetative barrier would continue. And I believe we might, Meredith, I think we might have asked you or to see if you could find some history on that in the file to see what we've actually agreed to historically on this. And I understand the issue with the wildlife. Conversely, this does provide a shaded canopy. It also provides a sound barrier to any neighbors. So I wanted to review that before we went too much further.
Did you find that, Meredith?
I didn't find anything in our old orders that talked about the sound barrier. I did find, and plus it's closed out. Both of those, there were 2 orders and both were closed with a certificate of compliance. So they're done. They don't have any standing anymore. But I didn't see anything in there about a vegetative buffer. We looked at the planning board permit and there is a line in there about, let's see what it says. The applicant will create a natural sound buffer, a minimum of 6 feet in height along the Union Street side of the go-kart facility. And at the site visit yesterday, I asked Tony about that and he said that there's a row of arborvitae that are there, you can see on the site plan, that the reason they're there is for the sound barrier.
Okay.
So
and Tony, if you want to talk about the planning board review, go ahead. I haven't talked to Jay about this, but you have, so.
Yeah. I mean, the arborvitaes by themselves, in his opinion, would satisfy the requirement, but also the areas of vegetation that we're proposing affecting are outside of that area for the most part. So the areas that are between the track and Union Street are south of where we're working. Our areas from here up. So I don't, wouldn't. I don't think it would impact that. And the requirement is only that there's a 6 foot, a 6 foot in height thing. It doesn't specify what it is, where it is, how it's there. So I don't think it would affect.
Tony, can you zoom out a little bit so we can see the abutters? Thank you. How much of the bordering vegetation along Union Street that we're talking about and in front of the parking area do you plan to remove? You're going to leave the big trees? Is that what you said? Take out the undergrowth?
That's correct. Yeah.
And what is the purpose for that?
It is to open up the view of the facility, to help, maintain the the ongoing control of the, the invasives there to help beautify it, and also probably to create some additional seating in the shade and stuff for people, people that are coming with things like dogs and want to sit somewhere, somewhere in the shade and have a nice flat spot to do that.
Other
I-
questions?
Questions now.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm looking at it as a business standpoint, and I've always thought that was one of the key factors why Golf Acres had such a hard time maintaining a clientele, because it wasn't visible. And that section in front of that location, if it doesn't affect the wildlife and they meet their criteria by the arborvitaes, and they're not going to be taking out the trees in front of the go-kart track. I'm just saying, I know that area, so I'm in support of that, allowing them to do that section of it. And Meredith, if you were concerned with right by the entrance, you could probably get them to leave a 10-foot zone there or something around the water, and then take the rest of it out. Maybe just have a buffer zone, where you were talking about by the entrance. Just an idea.
Yeah, I will say, and I will show you guys some photos in a second, if we're done with Tony sharing for right now.
Actually, before Meredith,
sorry.
Tony, real quick, and I apologize because I was not here for when you made your original presentation, but talk to me a little bit about this trail. What kind of trail, and where will that be? And how close are you coming to the resource, to the water behind you?
All right, so the proposed trail is to make a loop that would start or have an access point up here on the north side of the facility, come down along this edge of the property, sort of as far down range of the driving range as we can get. And then it would loop along the high ground between the Powder Mill Brook, the diverted stream that feeds it. And then we would want to kind of poke into a couple spots. This north spot of the pond here is the best place that I can find for like bird viewing and things like that. So we want to kind of poke into there to get a viewing spot. Oh, what happened here? My screen share just acted up. Is anybody else seeing that?
Yeah, we lost it.
All right, let's see here. Yeah, let's see, screen 2 share. We'll try again here. And reload the Google map. F5. Got it all saved up here, ready to go. It's amazing what the Google imagery has done to change the way we look at these things.
It certainly is. It's amazing technology.
Yeah. So the path is going to come down here, and then once the resource area really starts probably around here, because that's where the 200-foot buffer of the Powder Mill Brook is. So it's going to come into there, and then as it snakes through, it's going to access a couple viewing points of the brook and the and the pond. Right up in this area is where we expect to get the northern viewing of the pond. And then it'll come down here and have probably another viewing area at the southern end. And those two areas are probably the only ones where the bank is really flat enough to kind of get in and get a good look. It's a man-made pond. I'm not sure why it was created, but it's got very steep banks in a number of the spots. And then the second trail would start at the at this corner by the go-kart track, and then come in to kind of meet up with it on the opposite side of where the discharge from the pond is. So
So
Tony,
we're talking hiking, just like hiking path.
that's it, Tom. Hiking and bird watching. So
Am I picturing ATVs and bikes and things like that?
No. These are Maybe, you know, mountain bike or something. I don't know if there'd be restriction to stop kids, you know, neighborhood kids from riding in, but,
So Tony, you're just gonna go in and cut a swath? Are you gonna like bring in gravel or wood chips, or will it just be a natural walking type path?
that's what's proposed. Yeah, cutting a 36-inch path. Basically, you know, doing like a brush hog sort of device, and motoring it through the areas that are less vegetated in order to get it through.
I see. Thank you very much.
Tony?
Yep.
On the bottom, right what you have on the screen now, where the Powder Brook comes out, doesn't that connect with the discharge from the pond? Like somewhere right in there? I'm just curious how you're going to connect the two routes together, because I thought they kind of connected together right in that area.
Right, so there is a Y right around here where the
Yep.
two would connect. So I'm envisioning that our trail is going to be between the Powder Mill Brook and the pond at all times, so it'd only be crossing over where the discharge of the pond would be.
How's the discharge of the pond? I'm not familiar with that one spot. Is it through a pipe that it has a gravel on, or dirt on top of it, or do they actually just discharge totally in the open and you'll have to build a little walkover bridge or something?
Right now, it's just an open discharge. There is what looks like the remnants of a beaver dam there that's collected a bunch of debris. At this time, we're just proposing going up to the two sides of it. I think that eventually would want to build a bridge and do a notice of intent for that part of the project.
Cliff, on the site visit, we actually walked from the area of the go-karts through the brush to the south end of the pond, and we saw the discharge. So it's probably at least a 10-foot wide river.
Right. No, I knew that. I was just saying
Yeah.
where Powder Brook that's behind it. I thought that connected with that discharge, somewhere where you were walking to. So I was just, if he was looping it all the way around, I thought he had to stop going, you know what I mean? It would be a big, you wouldn't be able to go, 360 all the way around the pond because of that discharge. That's what I was
Right.
just checking
That's
with.
true. Yes,
That's-
that's true.
Yeah,
You-
he would have.
you-
He would have to build a rather substantial bridge to get across it.
That's what I was just asking. Okay.
Okay.
But the plans we're considering approving tonight will not include any kind of water crossing. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
Tony, I have a question. When you say brush hog, is that going to disturb the soil, or is that just mowing?
It's just mowing, and far as, I mean, this is call it like a two-wheeled tractor. So you walk behind it. It's a machine that you walk behind, holding the two handles. Any effect on the soil would be minimal from the tires driving it.
And okay, and that creates a 3-foot wide approximately.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't have a problem with the trail. It's just going to be vegetation. He's basically clearing vegetation to allow some access to the pond to look at it. And if your people are going to look at it, you definitely need a little bit of a trail, because we walked through there yesterday and it was a little thick. So as far as Union Street, along Union Street, do you guys want to see some photos? I mean, I think, is there a way to maybe selectively cut some invasives in there? And are you going to use a brush hog in that area? I mean, that area is really thick. Are you just going to come in there with it's going to be clear cut? Is that right?
Well, I mean, clear cut, I don't think is the right term, because we're keeping a lot of the larger trees. Let me see if I can get a picture here.
Oh, I can show my photos if you want.
I have some
Of course.
springtime pictures where you can see better what the trees look like as compared to the vines. Let me see here. Okay, if I see all photos, I'm going to close this out. I'm going to move this one up. Okay, now I got something going on here. Okay, so here's some pictures of it a little bit earlier in the spring. It's a little bit easier to see the structure of the larger trees behind it. So this lower stuff here is what we're primarily proposing to cut out, and then hoping there's enough space in between the larger trees to get around them and maintain. Now here's an area a little bit further down where there aren't even really any larger trees in that area. That's a picture of the northern part. So I think there's a challenge in to collectively cutting some of this. I mean, everything. I think what we're proposing is everything under a certain size, more or less. The equipment that's being used is sort of a more powerful equivalent of a brush hog, and can absorb anything up to a certain diameter, whether it's 4 or 6 inches. So that's what's being proposed, and then we'll see what the other trees look like, and then collectively assess those.
Will that machine disturb the soil?
I would not expect it to do anything other than tire marks and possibly things like that. I think a lot of this is going to be done with an excavator arm. The machine's on an excavator arm reaching into the area as opposed to driving into it. I wouldn't want to, I wouldn't want to say that it's not going to be driven on.
So I
Yes,
just have
Bud.
one question. So you're going to use, you said a walk behind machine, then you said an excavator?
Well, so there are 2 different areas and 2 different projects.
Okay.
The nature trails are only 36 inches wide, and they're actually going into the resource areas of, the buffer zones of the wetlands within the 200-foot boundary of the Rivers Act and things like that. So they're getting much closer to the resource areas. This area up along Union Street is out of those areas. It's in a 100-year floodplain, so it's still, jurisdictional, but it, it doesn't have the same resources that the wetland areas have.
And
Except for the little cross culvert area where it is a wetland, but
yeah, and Meredith, just the thing too, on Union Street, I don't know if it's a city or the state that maintains it, because it grows in so thick there, where he's looking at doing that, that they have to come by and trim that all the time. So it'd probably be taking away, some of the burden off the city or the state, whoever maintains it. Like I said, they have to come in with their big, hedge trimmers, you know what I mean, to cut it back.
yeah, I don't think it's actually lower than what they maintain along the road. Given the site visit yesterday, the side of the road is definitely maintained, I'd say 8 or 10 feet, but this area is like down in a gully where they don't maintain it. Here, let me show you a couple of photos, and then let's try to make a decision on how we want to regulate this or not. Again, we have to think about the resource areas, bordering land subject to flooding. The main concern with that resource area is altering the volume and filling the volume. Mr. Whitman's not doing that, but then we have this performance standard about wildlife habitat, and you can alter a certain amount up to 5,000 square feet if it sorry, how does that go? If, or more if it's not significant. And then we have to decide, well, are these invasive plants significant to wildlife habitat? So Tony, let me share a couple photos and then, hello.
Tony, stop sharing, please.
I'm working on it. Here we go.
Oh, you
Okay.
didn't see me. Okay.
All right, thank
It's
you.
like,
Thank
is
you
he
for
there?
reminding me.
So I'll just share a couple of my photos and then hopefully we can come up with a compromise here. So it's a very congested area with vegetation. So the neighbor's property, this is the hedgerow, for lack of a better term. This is the little, oh no, that's on the other side of the street, sorry. So that's where this little channel thing is draining onto Mr. Whitman's property through a culvert under Union Street and then down into a gully. So the road is, and the power lines, that area is maintained. I don't think they go much further than that. And maybe, I'm not entirely sure, but I was hoping to show you guys the little swale thing. But, you know, autumn olive, multiflora rose, bittersweet, it is dominated by invasive plants. But I guess I haven't heard a great argument for why it's not significant wildlife habitat. This is the back side of the parking lot. Like all this stuff would be removed as well because it's smaller than 6 inches. Okay, this is the little swale area by the entrance. I think it is jurisdictional. It's pretty small, but I don't think clearing vegetation up through that is a great idea.
Well, Meredith, you were there. Did you see any wildlife in that area? I mean, I can't imagine there's anything there, you know, being so close to the road and the gravel parking lot. They're kind of in the, you know, between the
Yeah.
two.
Fair enough. I will agree that Union Street provides a major deterrent for wildlife. It's a very busy road. It's very loud. And if I was an animal, I wouldn't be going anywhere near Union Street if possible. However, this area does provide a lot of cover and all sorts of critters like cover.
There were
I'm
certainly some birds that we observed when we were there.
Yeah,
That were
absolutely.
using that area.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to weigh in that I feel that there is definitely cover for wildlife. I mean, we're not talking deer or bear or perhaps not even fox, but maybe. You know, and you know, we just don't know what could be living there. It provides a primary attribute, though, which is dense, movable coverage for a small animal. You know, groundhogs, woodchucks, squirrels, chipmunks, meadow voles, mice, field mice, everything that is lunch and supper for hawks, birds of prey. So I do feel that it provides habitat. What it is, I don't know. I can't answer that question.
And in a response to that, though, we're talking probably, I'm gonna go with maybe a tenth or a quarter of an acre out of maybe a tenth of an acre out of what size is your parcel there, Tony? 34 acres, I think. And
If I could just put the numbers there, the total parcel's about 45 acres. If we assume 10 of it's developed, that leaves 35 acres of wetland resources, which is about 1.5 million square feet. We're looking at affecting about 15,000 square feet. So it's 1% or less.
right. Just bringing that up. And this is like, you know, it's, you know, I don't know. I like to see the business thrive too, and it's not like he's given up a significant amount. I mean, if you saw something, I would agree. You know what I mean? That's significant, but that's why I was asking if you guys saw anything, because I travel that all the time. I've never seen, any roadkill in that area, which means nothing's going around, running in and out of the street there, which I like my opinion.
Do we have jurisdiction in this area? Because if the owner wants to remove vegetation, I mean, is it within 200 feet of a resource area? It is?
No,
No.
the resource area is bordering land subject to flooding.
Yeah,
There are 4 performance standards that you have to comply with when you're going to be altering bordering land subject to flooding. The first 3 are relative to changing the volume. So if you're adding a building to a floodplain to bordering land subject to flooding, you have to compensate for that. And you can't alter the flow path or I don't know the performance standards off the top of my head. I can look them up. I did provide in my notes the last performance standard, which I thought was the most relevant one, which has to do with wildlife habitat and bordering land subject to flooding. The other resource area is potentially buffer zone because of that tiny little wetland area between 2 culverts in that swale that is by the entrance of the property. So,
so part of your compromise proposal is that we make a little pocket protection area around the entrance. Am I understanding, Meredith?
yeah, I mean, I had a few ideas. I mean, I thought about selectively cutting in there as far as invasive species, starting just cutting bittersweet and multiflora rose. Also, yes, I think we should leave the vegetation around the swale adjacent to the entrance, because I don't want erosion to happen. And then what eventually is going to happen, it's going to be a lawn area. And then we have lawn clippings and chemicals entering a waterway.
Meredith, how big of a buffer would you like around that that swale? You know what I mean? To keep it I'm gonna assume it's probably you're looking to keep a 40 by 40 or a 40 foot wide patch there, maybe, or maybe a
Yeah, I mean,
30-foot
I was thinking at least to the top of the slope, because it's a
Yeah,
pretty
from the
steep
top.
slope
From the
there.
from the slope to along the swale. But I mean, how far away from it on the side? Probably another 20 feet.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that much, but just something so it's not clear cut and then it's getting filled in.
Right, exactly. So if you left yourself a 20, a 10-foot radius around the water, the pipes, and the dip there where the water is, that would give you a pretty good little, per se, island, and then allowing him to cut after that down to where he was looking at, which would be just before the the go-kart track, and don't allow him to cut any of the big trees, nothing over 6 inches. So basically he's just removing all the underlining brush and invasive species. And that way you still get the trees that are still there for your cover for your birds, or, habitat for your birds. I'm just throwing, like I said, that's what I would suggest for this part of the program.
Cliff, I'm on board with you there.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Okay. Comments from, what's that?
One option is to get a definition of what significant is there for any wildlife that does exist, and have a wildlife survey done. And then we'll have some science and some true knowledge of what's there.
Significance always in the eyes of the beholder. I mean,
But not a wildlife biologist who would go in there and do an inventory, look for habitat and any evidence. So the whole point is to take a broad-based word like significant and drive it down to what is there. And if we have this site altered, will that damage some wildlife we don't know about? And we haven't even, talked about reptiles. We haven't talked about anything else.
So is this, I just want to make sure I understand. So is this going to be something going forward we're always going to use as a new gold standard? Yeah, I'm just thinking of the business owner here. That's a significant expense and everything.
Can I get a pomegranate then? All right, thank you. Love you, bro.
What's that? Again, it's up, I mean, the commission does have the option to request that. I mean, it is a very extensive area. It's hard to envision from those pictures how far that is across from the Union Street side to the side that's on the parking lot. And it's very thick. And yeah, we didn't see any animals, but it was also 2:30 in the afternoon. It's 90 degrees out. So I wouldn't expect to see any animals either. I think that's an option. There's basically all of that would be gone. So you would be able to see from Union Street all the way into the property. Okay, any other questions or comments from the commission?
Just going with one more thing. Tony did provide those photos from the off season before the brush grows in that you can see in. You know what I mean? So we're talking really only affecting half of this, the season, because the rest of it, is really, you can see in through it during the, when the growing season is in. I don't know. That's up to you guys if you want them to go, to incur another expense.
Cliff, in due respect for previous applicants and others that have gone through this commission, there are times when, we've needed this information in order to make a decision to, to follow through on our own charter, which is to protect this area.
Oh, no, I totally agree. If somebody's not comfortable with it, you should ask for it. I'm comfortable with the area, so that's why I'm not asking for it. You know what I mean? That's all.
No, I respect what you're saying. I'm not comfortable removing this amount of vegetation without knowing what's there. And the fact that, yes, there's no vegetation, there's no foliage on it more than half of the year is someone, I don't think that affects any decision, because that affects all of New England.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay.
No, I respect you for that. I mean, that's fine.
Thank you. I know we've been talking about this project for quite a while. There's still other areas that we need to discuss. One, the area that he wants to clear the north side along Union Street. How much of that do you want to clear out, Tony?
That area is probably between 5,000 and 7,000 square feet.
Okay.
It's less mature. It's a less mature area, much more, secondary growth.
To make that a parking lot?
That's the idea, or an access point for the nature trails. Where people park on the side of the road, pull off the road to a dirt area.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that area because we were behind getting to our next appointment. I don't know, we may have to go back and look at that, Meredith. That's a lot of clearing, 5,000 square feet.
I'm under the same impression, Mr. Chairman. I think you're on the right track, and especially, Jim, if we can schedule it so that you could, and if we could both go see it. I think maybe that would be the better way to start, rather than to ask the owner to hire a consultant.
Unless the owner wants to hire a wildlife biologist and to put this to rest to make us more comfortable.
Yeah.
Or
well, could I propose that if he does so choose and they come back and say it's not significant, could we give him some direction that you're going to approve it if it's not significant? You know what I mean? I mean, I hate to have him hire one and then he come back and we still say, we're not happy with it. You know what I mean? Or we don't like it. You know what I mean? I mean, at least if he knows, hey, if he comes back and says, okay, it's not going to be significant, he knows, okay, money well spent. You know what I mean? Instead
Well,
of,
we can't make any promises. That's not really how this works.
Yeah, this doesn't work that way, Cliff. Sorry.
I'm just-
No, because this is a broad-based proposal affecting a large swath of property. And this is only one section of it that we've talked about in the last 15 minutes. So there's a variety of things that could come up that we don't know because we
Okay,
have
yeah,
no information. We don't have the
I see your point.
information.
No, that's fine. I see your point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would agree with Jim that anything is habitat for wildlife. And, you know, whether you're mowing down 2 feet of hay, you know, that's wildlife for crickets and grasshoppers and for mice and things like that. I think, you know, when it comes to bordering land subject to flooding, there really is a key word in here, which is significant, and what that means with respect to the wildlife that is associated with the wetland areas. And, you know, Section 1060 of the, you know, the environmental law talks a little bit about those sorts of things. I am not an expert on these. I personally do not think that it would be found to meet that that burden of significance if we were to hire a wildlife expert. I could be wrong. I also think that the members of the commission looking at it will probably be able to, you know, make a determination on their own without going that direction. Maybe the money's better spent in other places. I wouldn't expect after seeing it to for you to necessarily feel like it was essential to that wildlife with respect to this. You also have to look at the as a whole. So the amount of area that's being effective with respect to the frontage along Union Street. As Cliff said, the percentage of the square footage, so all those things would get included in that assessment to determine whether, you know, whether the essential wildlife could still function with this area cleared. And my guess is that, you know, the essential wildlife could. I mean, it is habitat for all those things you described, but it's not going to, you know, prohibit it. You know, the wildlife that we really care about from having a place to breed, eat, nest, all those things, because there's such a vast resource behind it closer to the wetlands for all those animals. So that's my argument on significance and how it comes into play here. Again, it would be, you know, if the commission isn't comfortable making that determination one way or the other, you know, I'm happy to engage an expert on that.
I think that would assuage, you know, several of the committee members as far as, you know, how that habitat really works as far as protecting animals. So I think, you know, if you're amenable to do that, I think that would help out. Plus, I think we need another site visit for other members to actually see the site and for us to get to the northern area and see where you want to clear at the other end of the trail. Because we just, you know, we didn't get to that one before, unfortunately.
And Meredith, maybe we could pick a day when it's not 90 degrees. Maybe.
Next week should be a little better, I think. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be continuing this.
So
First,
can I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we continue this till the next meeting?
not yet, because I think there's someone in the audience who'd like to
I'm
address
sorry.
this.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Melissa?
Yep, so Melissa Kavasi here. As most of you know, I am the one neighbor that is directly across the street. Good evening, Tony. I just want to make a couple of comments. I know I briefly spoke about this before, but, you know, I kind of look at this property and I think, you know, when is enough with all the manipulation that has been done on this property? So there was a comment made, I think by you, Tony. They don't know why the pond was put in there. And I know this was way before your time, but that was all illegally done. That pond was put in because they cleared out the wetlands that was there. That was all safe wetland area. They built that pond without anybody telling them they could. The Army Corps of Engineers came in and stopped them. That piping under the road, all of that was done without anybody saying that they could actually do it. So that's why that pond actually went in there. And now we look at that area up by the road there. And I know we're talking about wildlife and you want to hire somebody to do, you know, a study on that. I have lived on this property for 35 years. Sort of amazing to me, Cliff, that you're saying that there's no wildlife down here. I live here. I'm here 24 hours a day. We have bobcat. I was going out to go get a camera to take a picture because there was a bobcat sitting right where you want to take all that brush out. There was a bobcat sitting there just the other day. And by the time I came out with my camera, it was gone. We have hawks that land there. There's eagles that come over here. There's coyotes, there's fox, there's all sorts of stuff. And you need to remember that that location along Union Street where he wants to take out all that brush, that is a haven for that wildlife to get into, to go down further down the road and get down there where it actually is safe. So, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of wildlife. I'm here all the time. I'm the one that actually sees it. There was a comment made that there's no roadkill down here. You know why there's no roadkill? Because I go out and clean it up when it's down there. That's why you don't see the roadkill, because I don't want it out in Union Street. So when something does get smushed, we go out and take care of it so that it's not sitting out in the road when that happens. So I wanted to mention that. I know he's talking about removing all that underbrush that's under there and that that's not going to affect the land. You're talking about pulling roots out, which is what you said. You're going in with an excavator and you're ripping everything out. That's going to completely affect that soil that's there. And I think we all need to remember, I've got photos, if you want to see them, of that entire property right out to the road underwater. Completely underwater. So I think that, you know, again, that level of brush that's there to contain that just a little bit. And the one other thing, again, that it was original a gentleman's agreement that we always had with the previous owners about leaving all that there, because it is a sound buffer. It's also a visual buffer. So you have to remember, have you seen all the lights that are up there? That those lights shine dark. They had lights on already overnight over by the go-karts. Those lights were on last night or the night before. That's affecting wildlife. That also shines across the street. I'm the only neighbor on the other side of the street here. So when we have all that brush there, that also affects my quality of life to give me not only that sound buffer, but also the visual buffer from everything that's happening right across the street. You know, I know there was a comment that people can't see it. There's a huge sign on the road that says Golf Acres right there. You can't miss it when you're going by. And to put picnic tables there, I don't know if you guys have been down Union Street between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. There is nobody that's going to be sitting at a picnic table when the traffic is stopped on Union Street going down and back. So I don't really get the reason for having to clear all of that out. I don't see the purpose of it. I think it's a bad idea ecologically. I think it's a bad idea for wildlife. And I think it's honestly not a good neighbor thing to do, considering that we've been here the whole time and we've been here right from the beginning and when Golf Acres came in. And that was an agreement that we had with both previous owners to Tony, that would stay as a visual and auditory buffer for us across the street. So
thank you.
I'd like to
Thank you.
respond to just a couple of the points. One, the excavator has a mowing head on it, so it's not digging up stumps like Ms. Kobasa suggested. It's grinding up what's there down to the ground level. So that's one thing. The other thing I'd suggest is any development of land is a manipulation of what was originally there. So even their farm, is as beautiful as that might be to some people, is a manipulation of the original. I mean, it's fences, it's pasture land, it's all sorts of things that are in the same way changing the habitat and the environment. And what one person might look at and think is beautiful, another one might look at and not like. So I think what we're going to do with the facility is very thoughtful. I think I think it's going to be some change, but I don't think it's going to have an ugly result or a result that's going to negatively impact property value across the street.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jim, entertain your motion now.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we continue to our next meeting, which is July, what?
13th.
July 13th.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Cliff?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Meredith will be in touch about a second site visit. Okay, thank you. All right, item C, 273 Cityview Boulevard. Construction of above-ground pool in the 200-foot riverfront area to Jack's Brook. So in accordance with provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, public meeting will be held on June 22nd, 2021 by virtual meeting. This hearing is for a request for determination of applicability submitted by Arlene Rosselli for the construction of an above-ground pool in the 200-foot riverfront area located at 273 Cityview Boulevard. So you did go see that, Meredith? So you want to show us some pictures?
Yes. I was able to meet with Miss Roselli last week, and let me show you some photos. It's an existing lawn where they want to put the above ground pool. Sorry, I'm trying to find the photos. Here we go. Okay. Share screen. And unfortunately, Miss Roselli, I don't think she knows how to Zoom. I called her twice today and never got a hold of her, so I don't know. Hopefully she didn't go to City Hall. But so this is the home. It's on Cityview Boulevard. Existing lawn. They're gonna put the pool probably 10 feet off the back deck here. So an existing lawn. Let me show you. There is Jack's Brook is there. I think this woman just bought the property. I think the people before must have just been dumping lawn clippings and debris down the slope. It's quite a steep slope down to the river. Let me see if I get better. Man, sometimes my pictures are just there. You can't, it's hard to see the river because there's so much debris. But I estimated she's at least 100 feet from the mean annual high water mark, potentially more. So I feel like this is a pretty easy project to permit. It's going to be an above ground pool. The size was, let's see, did she tell me?
Any questions from the commission?
No, Mr. Chair, it looks pretty straightforward based on what Meredith is talking about.
I was just going to clarify, all of this is proposed to be on existing lawn. That's correct?
Yes. Yep. 27 square foot pool, above ground pool on an existing lawn behind a residential home.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Any questions or comments from anyone in the audience?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, when you're ready.
I'll go right ahead.
I'm going to suggest a -3 determination with the following conditions.
Tom, wait. We still need to close the public meeting first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. I'll make a
All right, so you
motion
can-
that we close this public hearing,
Public meeting.
public meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I'll
Do you have a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
What's the difference between a hearing and a meeting?
A hearing is an NOI, a meeting is an RDA.
Okay,
A
thank
ga-
you.
a gavel.
Yeah, yeah, I missed my gavel. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Carl,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes, to close the hearing. Excuse me, yes, to close the meeting.
Okay. Oh, yes, as well. Okay. I'm gonna quiz you next week, Tom.
Please, I'm writing it down.
Tom, how do you spell RDA?
All right, now you can do the motion on the -3.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we issue a -3 determination with the following conditions. That any disturbed soils will be revegetated, no trees are to be cut. No additional debris or lawn clippings shall be dumped down the slope towards the river. And the commission will be notified. The commission asks to be notified of the work start and work completion dates.
Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none. Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
okay, Tom,
Yes.
and Cliff,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Okay. All right, on to enforcement. 394 Northwest Road. Ryan, do you have an update or shall we just continue to the 13th?
Sure. Yep. I discussed the changes we talked about with Mr. Barry. There's just a couple minor things that he was unclear about. I haven't had a chance to circle back with him and clarify those. So yes, we'd like a continuance. It's in the works and we're moving towards what we had discussed last time.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Again, continue to the 13th. Okay. All in favor, Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Okay, item B, 1760 East Mountain Road. Again, we need to continue. Meredith is still working with the homeowner. Do you have an update or shall we just go ahead to continue?
I need to do another site visit with them and make sure this is the folks that I can't communicate with the actual owners. I was communicating with a niece or something, and she went to Romania for the month. So I've lost track of her, and I need to, she sent me one of her cousins information that speaks English. So I need to reach out to the cousin or just go there and talk to them. But they did install straw adjacent to the pond, and so I'm not concerned about erosion right now. And they were working on getting plants, blueberry plants, and they need to just plant. We agreed on 30 blueberry plants, I think, along the 50-foot buffer zone, and then within the 100-foot buffer zone, they're going to be planting something else. We haven't decided that yet.
Okay, thank you. So need a motion to continue to the 13th of July.
I'll make a motion that we continue to our next meeting on July 13th.
Do you have a second?
I'll second Carl's motion.
All right, thank you. All in favor, Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Okay, item C, 88 Furrowtown Road. Again, RLA requests a continuance till the 13th of July.
Motion to continue until July 13th.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cliff.
Yes.
Okay, I'll vote yes as well. Okay, item 6, discussion. 170 Pontusic Road. Okay, I'm going to recuse myself from this due to Michael was a student of mine. So, Jim, you're going to take this one.
Okay.
And Peter can just put me in the waiting room.
Meredith, could you give us an overview, please?
Sure. Yep. So got a complaint from a neighbor, I think, or somebody about work going on in the back of this property at 170 Pontusic Road. I went and did a site visit and did see some unpermitted work adjacent to a perennial stream. I believe it's perennial. And we looked at it, Carl and David and I went there yesterday, before David knew that he knew Mr. Bryant. So,
Okay.
yeah, we didn't know that till yesterday. So anyways, yeah, I can show you some photos. It's just, you know, the Mr. Bryant put in unpermitted sort of gravel fire pit area next to a stream. There's also a small bridge that crosses the stream, and I think that's sort of it. Oh, yeah, and there's a carport sort of in the riverfront area too. So Mr. Bryant subsequently has filed an RDA for a new shed. And he told me he's going to be removing the carport and transferring the stuff that's in there into the shed, but we haven't got to that point yet. So at this point, we're just reviewing what we want to do about the unpermitted gravel fire pit area adjacent to the stream. I can show you guys some photos just so you have an
Yes, please.
idea what it looks like. It's a really nice little wetland area.
Meredith, what does your comment mean that it's not on his property?
It's my understanding that this isn't on his property. This is on an abutter's then Mr. Beltrandi's property. Yeah, so there's a parcel behind this Mr. Bryant's property, but I believe he had permission to do this work. I'm not, or maybe he didn't. I actually don't know that. Sorry, I take that back. I just know it's not on his property. So I don't know if that makes a difference in the violation or the enforcement, but.
Yeah, would that be violation going towards him or the landowner?
I think we're supposed to issue them to the landowner. Hold on, let me look at one.
Yeah, how could it be otherwise, Cliff? It's got to be
Right.
the landowner, right?
That's what I mean. And then the landowner has to take it up with whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just issued one for. Well, on the form, it just says the name of the violator. So it doesn't have to be the property owner. And then you write the location. Yeah, so this is actually good. So the name of the violator goes on the WPA form, and then the location of the violation. And then it says property owner if different from the name of the violator.
Okay.
So there is that. So it doesn't have to go to the property owner. It can go to the name of the violator.
I just wanted to make sure.
Sorry, the violator. Yeah. Yeah, I was concerned about that too.
Is this, if I recall from our last meeting, there was some brief discussion about a gentleman with a fire pit. Is this that same is this the same person?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're at a formalized level.
Well, now we have to decide. Before, you guys hadn't seen the site. I had gone there on my own just to see what the deal was. And then I wanted somebody else to come out there and see.
Right.
So let me show you a couple of photos and we can decide what to do from there, I think. What action we want to take. Okay, where's my photo? Oh, geez, hold on. Sorry, you guys. Stop. I don't know why this always takes me so long. I just can't seem to get this part right. Okay. This would be the one good thing about going back. Might be easier for me to not get muted and share my screen. Okay, let me zoom. Let me go, sorry. Okay, so I didn't take a picture of the backyard right away. This is the carport, close to the river, some debris close to the river. Let me get to the little bridge. And so this is the river. And Mr. Bryant installed this fire pit area. Here's a better picture. So river, bridge, fire pit and gravel. You know, I was questioning whether this was actually BVW based on the vegetation that was there. I mean, there's skunk cabbage growing up through the gravel. So it was a bit of a cause for concern. So, you know, I think we need to get the gravel out of there. However, now I'm concerned about disturbing soil directly adjacent to the stream, or disturbing this again, I guess. I just wouldn't want to destabilize the bank.
Can the pea stone be scraped off? I mean, I guess it depends on how, I mean, if that's the approach we're going to take. If it's just, you know, dropped on top of it and it's not roller compacted, you know, it may come up fairly easily, and, you know, and then have to have some kind of a seed mix put down, but that may work fairly well. It might not, I don't know, it's just an idea. If that's
Meredith?
Sorry, yeah, hold on, let me adjust Jim's comment. I think that's a good comment, that you could rake, if it was raked. I think a lot of the vegetation will actually come back because it's already going through the gravel.
Yeah, Cliff?
Sorry, Cliff.
I just had a question about, I'm still stumped on that, the ownership and the use, the person using it. Because could we actually, and I'm just throwing this out there, tell a non-owner of a property he has to go onto somebody else's property and restore it? I don't think you could, because, I mean, unless the owner gives them permission. I just don't want you stepping on, going into a gray area that you couldn't, you know, I mean, I'm assuming the owner doesn't want them there anymore of the property.
Well, I actually
And-
don't know that. I mean,
Right,
it seems
well,
like-
if you notify
I don't
the
know what
owner-
the owner wants, and maybe Mr. Bryant can speak to that. And, you know, it's really up to the commission if you guys want the gravel removed or not. It's not up to me.
Oh, no,
Hi,
yeah, I
Meredith.
just want to make sure you send it to the right party, that's why. Because I don't think you could tell a non-owner he has to go onto somebody's property illegally to fix something that he did wrong. You know what I
Nor
mean?
do I, Cliff. I totally agree with you. It would be quite inappropriate for us
Could you,
to.
excuse me, sir, could you identify yourself?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to. I am Michael Bryan. I am the property owner at 170 Pontusic Road. So the fire pit that is back there is the one that I built. And Mr. Beltrandi is aware that I have the fire pit back there and has told me he is okay with the fire pit back there. And if there is anybody who needs to restore this property, and if that is what you decide, that is on me. I was given permission. I did all of that work back there. So I am hoping that you will not hold Mr. Beltrandi in any way responsible for anything. He's been nothing but great to me, allowing me to use his property and walk behind his property. He's been very gracious. So I was just unaware of the the rules for Land Act, and now that I've been made aware, I am fully responsible. So if anything needs restoration, please hold me responsible for that.
Thanks, I appreciate the update, thank you.
Thank you.
And the owner would be happy with anything that you do, or do you have to propose what you're gonna do to him?
No, I just let him know that I was going to build a fire pit area down there, and he was okay with it.
Okay, but how about the restoration? He would be good to whatever we agree on?
I am sure he would be fine with it. I can tell you that I started to try to remove some of the rock on the upper part of my property. It was near impossible. It is kind of compacted down into the ground. It's not pea stone, it's bluestone. It's very hard to remove. I think even going down there with a rake, going to make a pretty big mess. It's pushed into the ground. So I can certainly do it and plant whatever is needed afterwards to make up for it. But it's certainly going to disturb whatever is there.
And could we ask that before you do anything else, though, let's get a plan together on this. But I appreciate you taking the time to, kind of restore it a little bit, but I'm sure you understand.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't try to restore anything. I was just seeing how hard it would be to remove the rock.
Okay.
I kind of found out pretty quickly that it was going to be extremely difficult. That was up the top part of my property near my yard. Just want to see how hard it would be to get the rock up. I didn't disturb anything other than the rocks on the top, and it was very difficult. I'm having difficulty trying to imagine myself doing that without some kind of equipment, to be honest.
All right, thank you. Meredith?
It sounds like we need to issue an order. And I'm still with Cliff. We at least have to copy the landowner. I mean, I trust everything that's being said here tonight, but we can't send one man onto another man's property. We as the city, that just doesn't make sense. But we want, I'm equally troubled by the illegal bridge. I mean, in the past, we've made landowners remove. I mean, it looks like a really nice bridge. It looks like it's done properly. If there was any damage to the environment, it's already been done. It's a difficult question to, will we cause more disturbance by having the neighbor take the bridge? Is the bridge on your property?
No, sir.
Having the neighbor take the bridge off of the property could be a mistake. But again, it has been our practice. I remember we did that on out by CNS there. What's the road that Timber Swamp, on Timber Swamp Road? We made the party actually remove the bridge.
Also on Roots Road in the last couple of years. Not
Right.
Roots Road, but North Road up there.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that automatically makes us have to do it here, but again, I'm sorry I missed this site visit. I'd love to see it personally. I hate to make everybody do everything twice, but I do think we need to issue an emergency order. That would be our objective tonight, I believe. Make it clear that there's to be no more disturbance at the very least. We've done it verbally, but we need to do it more formally.
Yeah, I've definitely promised Meredith that I would not be touching anything at all down there without permission whatsoever or any kind of permit or to wait until whatever decision that the committee has made. So I'm definitely waiting. And she's explained more of, sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. I talked over you. Carl, you saw this site, correct?
Was at the site visit, yeah, and I have to say it's you did a very nice job. It's a nice it's a nice fire pit and area. And the unfortunate thing is that I'm quite sure that we never would have allowed it to be permitted in the first place, despite the fact that it is a very nice outcome and the bridge is aesthetically kind of nice.
I agree with you, Tom, that we should do an enforcement order. But before we do anything like that, I'd like to hear from the rest of the commission and also from Meredith again on what information we might still need and what else might that you can share with us. So Meredith?
I think my main concern is the fire pit area being in potentially a vegetated wetland. The bridge, it was a very nice bridge, and it was a minimal impact. You know, it's a very small walking bridge. I think we probably would have allowed that. So if the property owner had permission from the current property owner to cross, because there's a bunch of that trail actually leads to the Metacomet Trail. So it's an established trail system, and we probably would have allowed that. I don't think we would have allowed the fire pit next to the stream, or, you know, if Mr. Bryant had come to us ahead of time, we probably would have said, well, can you put it in your lawn? Can you put it a little bit farther away? Don't put it in a wetland. At this point, I'm more concerned about more damage. I do think that getting some of the gravel out of there, unfortunately, it's probably going to be a lot of work. I do think it will revegetate. I just don't want any disturbance. I don't want to disturb the bank, but I'd like to hear from other members. I haven't dealt with something like this before, so I don't know what's common practice here.
If I remember the sort of patio area, it was edged a little bit by some larger stone that I think would be good to remove. And the fire pit itself would be, I think, good to remove. There were also a number of solar lights, and I worry that on both the bridge and around the patio, and I worry that that's providing some artificial light in there at nighttime when perhaps there shouldn't be any.
Okay. I didn't see the site. I didn't have that opportunity, so I'd like to go back out or go there also myself. And when Carl goes out, or if we have to go back out again.
It probably would be beneficial because Mr. Bryant did file an RDA for a new shed.
Okay.
So it wouldn't hurt for us to check it out again. But I don't know if other members want to speak to this and or move forward with the enforcement somehow.
Any other contributions? Bob?
Yeah, I think we
Cliff?
should have a plan, Jim, like you said, just to know a restoration plan. So we got some sort of basis to know where Mr. Bryant wants to go with this or what he's proposing to rectify the situation.
Yes. We could ask that, or he come in, since he's filing with an RDA, right, Meredith? He's filing.
Filed an RDA for a new shed.
Okay. So what's the protocol in a situation like this, when the shed might be in a different area? What we may want to do, I guess, do we deal with the enforcement order independent of the shed? Are they two separate issues?
Yeah, they're two separate issues, really. So in an enforcement order, we could say you need to come up with a restoration plan.
Yeah.
And then he can, or you can hire a consultant to come up with a restoration plan. Or we can tell him what the restoration plan is going to be, which is you're going to remove the gravel and revegetate.
Before we were to do that, it might be better that at least us two members that have not seen it and anybody else would want to go out and see it before we do that. Although I'm reluctant myself to design a plan, you know, which would typically be done by somebody else.
Right. Yeah, and that's a fair thing
Yeah.
to request. Also, we might want to request just a letter from the property owner stating,
Yes.
do the restoration, you can do the whatever. I think we maybe want to get something in writing from
I
Mr.
agree.
Beltrandi.
And we would make that part of the enforcement order.
How about I will propose that the solar lighting be removed, and then that he come up with, present a letter from the property owner, as Jim had suggested, and then that he generates some sort of restoration mitigation plan of what's to be done for the future. And that gives him a little bit of time to work on that.
Okay.
And then, of course, Carl, we would want to add, no further disturbance. I know he gets it. I know you get it now, Mike, but
Yes.
I do want to put that in writing.
Understood.
Thank you.
So is somebody ready to make a,
Do it, Carl.
Well, does anybody else have anything else that they want to contribute to that?
I think you've summarized it well, so.
All right,
we
then
can
I'll
take
make a motion then that we authorize Meredith to issue an order, and that we state that there needs to be no further disturbance, that the solar lighting is removed as soon as possible, and then that he comes up with both a letter from the property owner and some sort of a plan for moving forward to mitigate the situation. Does that sound reasonable?
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
And any further discussion on this? If not, we're going to move forward with a vote. Tom?
I'll vote yes, Jim.
Bob?
Yes.
Cliff?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Myself, yes. So the motion passes for an enforcement order. With the motion that Carl brought forward written into it. And then Meredith, you can schedule a site visit for us. Thank you.
Yep, we'll do.
Now-
I'll see when people can.
Yeah, now regarding the shed, I'm a little unclear how that needs to be dealt with, or you just wait for the RDA to come in.
Yeah, we'll wait to discuss that. We haven't had the public hearing, so we'll have a public hearing
All right, thank you.
next time. Okay.
Thank
I'd
you.
just like to make a quick comment to Mr. Bryant. My heart goes out to you. I love that area, and I think I would have much enjoyed an area just like that too if I weren't involved in enforcing the laws of protecting the wetlands.
Thank you, sir. Well, now I know better. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your input, Mike. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you for responding right away. He got right back to me. He's been very easy to work with. And we really appreciate that. Not everybody is as willing to work with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're
So I'm going to ask that David come back, take the chair, and I'll move aside.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Dave's back.
Dave, I'm going to hand this off to you.
Oh, he's muted.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Okay, item B, 22 Woodland Avenue. This is to extend an order of conditions. We have a motion to extend the order of conditions 333-765 to 11/29/2024.
So moved.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Just a question. Is this just a straight administrative request for 3 years, or do we know anything about this, or if there's?
Yeah, it's just an existing order of conditions. I believe they were just doing their due diligence and they haven't got going on the project yet, and they want to make sure they can still do it, you know, given the cost of
Yeah.
everything.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think it's just an administrative dotting the Ts and Is, which I appreciate. It's good to have things extended before they expire.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Meredith.
All right, other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Okay, item C, 312 Northwest Road. Need to ratify emergency certification for failed septic system. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Meredith, did you have a brief description of this?
Yeah, just so you know, I received an approved plan from the Board of Health. And, you know, whenever a failed septic system is failed, it seems like the appropriate thing is to get it fixed right away. And they had a contractor ready to go. So it was, you know, it's been approved by the Board of Health. It's already been issued by a certified septic installer or septic designer, sorry. So whenever the Board of Health gives me these things, I think it's important to just get them out right away. And the homeowner was very anxious to get this done as well.
It's the kind of call we expect you to make, Meredith.
Yeah, and just so you know, I always call David and ask him if I can issue this, and he thought it was appropriate too. So I could call all of you if you wanted, but I'm sure you're sick of hearing from me enough as it is.
I think you got other things to do.
Yeah, keep bugging David.
Okay, thank you.
I think David would like it, actually.
Okay,
Oh, brother.
all right, all in favor, Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Cliff. I'll
Yes.
vote yes as well. Okay, item 7, other items. Approval of minutes of June 8, 2021.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 8th, 2021.
Do you have a second?
I will second.
Any additions or corrections?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor, Tom,
I'll abstain.
okay, Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Item 8, commission discussion. Anything under regulations or procedures? Meredith,
I don't have anything.
okay,
Oh, maybe Colin does.
I do real quick. It's not really a regulation or procedure, but it's coming to the end of the year and I need to do Meredith's final mileage ticket. And she cannot sign her own. So I'm wondering if you guys can stop by within the next, I need it done like probably by the end of this week. Your signatures on it. Can everybody stop in, or at least 4 of you stop in to City Hall, or let me know where I can run into you?
Or we're gonna come to your houses.
Yeah. I'm not beneath doing that. So just I need 4 signatures at least. So
Can we
I'll
just
try to
call you
stop
when
by.
we're there?
yeah, oh certainly. You know I work 10 to 2. So you know I'm more than happy to just run down. So
Oh,
or
you
you can come upstairs. City Hall is open too. So but I don't mind coming downstairs and get some fresh air. So
okay. All right, thank you.
Are you there
Thank you.
5 days a week now, Colleen?
I work 10 to 2 Monday through Thursday, and then 10 to 1 on Friday.
Thank you.
Okay. Item B, discuss continue remote meetings or in person. Again, we have the option of continuing like we are until next April. But I know a lot of commissions are eager to get back into City Hall. But I just wonder what your considerations are.
Next April sounds good.
I'll
Well,
suggest at least that during the summer, it certainly is convenient to be able to do remote.
So can we
Well-
revisit this back probably in like September or something?
Sure, but if we do this in the summer, you can't use vacation as an excuse. Because everybody's going to be near Wi-Fi,
Hey, I do it while I'm driving. I may as well do it on vacation.
Peter, is it okay if we continue? Okay.
Well, we
I
know-
don't mind going a little further remote,
Right.
but I
Well,
do not feel it is an equal to an in-person meeting.
Well, that's true.
And I, you know, I never really felt so far that we could get the depth of discussion on video that we can in person, looking at an engineering print, hovering over something. It's just much richer experience than this, but I understand the circumstances. I like the idea of revisiting it, like Cliff said, in September. And maybe there's, but also I'm saying these things, but we don't really know what provisions would be available in City Hall for protection for us also. I don't know if there would be plastic sheeting or shields or whatever that, you know, all that. I don't know what's going on. Or is it just an open rooms? Okay.
And nobody's wearing masks.
Yeah.
It's not required. Thank you.
I have one question. Meredith, on site visits, do we have to wear masks still or not?
It's up to you.
It's up to
Okay.
you.
Okay.
I think the state emergency order was lifted, and I think Westfield, the mayor lifted the emergency order. So it's like, I think it's back to normal now, but it certainly feels not normal. I mean, it feels a little scary to be in a room with people, but.
Okay.
But we should always have a mask with us, right? In case we go on a site visit and somebody wants us to put one on, correct?
Yeah, I
One of
would
the
say,
applicants?
yeah, just to be
Yeah.
safe, sure.
Yeah.
They can't force you to.
No, but you know, they may feel more comfortable, I guess, if we have one and they ask us if we can.
Yeah, and I think it's a more of a concern for indoor, like if we have to be indoors. I don't know, but I don't know.
It certainly would be considerate though, if we were able to, we brought a mask along in case we need it.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. I always have, oh my God, so many masks.
Yeah, just keep them in your car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, item C, wetlands ordinance update. Again, I sent everybody last week a copy of the latest draft. So, you know, please take a look at it, make changes or corrections or suggestions. Meredith's going to look at it with a fine-tooth comb between now and our next meeting. And so I'd like to get this done this summer.
Mr. Chairman, I read it and I thought, I appreciate your effort. I do have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Just on clarification, section 13-61 jurisdiction. No, I apologize. No, 13.62, item F, placing of obstructions or objects in water. Could we or should we add or resource area?
All right, I'll check that and see.
And
or send me an email.
Yeah. Or what section was that? Yeah.
Yeah, all it is 13-62, section F. It specifically only talks about water, not a buffer zone or resource area or anything like that. And then, well, Dave, I've only got one more, 13-70 enforcement.
Okay.
Fourth paragraph, I find it very unclear.
All right, I'll look at that again.
That's the only thing. Aside from that, thank you for your efforts.
Okay.
David, I know that you and Carl are partners in crime. Did you incorporate his earlier suggestions?
Yes.
I too looked at it and I thought it was good. I especially focused on the 50-foot wording, stay away 50 feet. And I think the language is clear. I think it's an improvement.
Okay.
So I too am thanking you and Carl and the others that Meredith, the others that pitched in.
Okay. So hopefully we could get a final draft this summer and then send it off to whoever needs to look at it in City Hall, the lawyer, and perhaps sending it off to Jay, the planner, because he does a lot of ordinances as well. So see if the languages are okay, and then get it sent off to the city council in the fall.
I think that's a great plan and goals.
Okay,
I would like to add, by the way, that David's done the yeoman's part of the job. I've made some suggestions, but he's really been the driving force here.
well, I did a lot of copying and pasting from other communities, so it's not all from my head, believe me.
Love that public document, so Dave.
That's right, why not? You know, no sense to reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
you know, so. All right, well, thank you. Item 9, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Hey, all in favor? Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Cliff, I'll vote yes.
Yeah.
So, again, Meredith will set up the new site visits, and hopefully more of you can go on those, especially for the Union Street and for Mr. Bryant's property.
Yeah,
Thank
do
you.
folks want to send me like their